Happy New Year to all in Eagles Nation. And I say that obviously it's a day early here, but it feels like New Year's Eve right now. The Eagles obviously advancing to the playoffs. It is a new year for the football. It's a new season, the playoffs, of course. I got the Titans-Colts game on right now. 24-10 Colts look like they're going to advance, being the last team in to the playoffs this year out of the AFC, unless there's some miraculous turnaround here in Tennessee. But listen, we all knew what we had to do this week, what the Eagles had to do. They had to win their game, obviously, against Washington, and Minnesota had to lose their game to Chicago. And, I thought, on New Year's Eve, the ball drops in New York. I guess the ball dropped a day early in Minnesota for the Vikings, huh? I guess they just decided to drop the ball a day early. No, you know what? I woke up today, obviously, excited, big football day, big, playoff ramifications and everything that was on the line. You had the nerves, going into it. Today was basically like a playoff type of game, type of day. With all the playoffs still had to be decided in the NFL in the late games, and it's an exciting day. I mean, it was exciting, looking forward to it. I did feel confident. I won't say overconfident, but confident that the Eagles would take care of their business against Washington. But I also had this kind of quiet confidence about the Bears being able to beat the Vikings. Now, I know that game, as it turned out, really didn't mean anything for Chicago because the Rams were thumping the 49ers, and I was getting a little worried when I saw that because I'm like, uh-oh, does that mean the Bears are just going to start sitting guys and that's it for that? But you know what? They were playing a division rival on the road, and what else do you want to do with a division rival when that division rival has a chance to make the playoffs and knock them out? And that's what the Bears did. So thank you to the Bears. Now, of course, we do get to play the Bears this, and it was announced that it's the last playoff game of Wild Card Weekend. It's the 4:40, 4:45, whatever, start on NBC, Sunday afternoon, late afternoon. Bears hosting the Eagles in Chicago. Hopefully there's no fog. Hopefully we can just get through this game. They're actually just showing an advertisement for it right now. Nick Foles versus Mitch Trubisky in that game. And NBC, you know what? Not for nothing. I just got off the phone with my buddy Big Slim, and I did tell him that the Eagles do okay with Collins and Collinsworth and Michaels and Collinsworth calling the game. Yeah, they've done okay in recent years, including last year when they were 2-0 with those two calling their playoff game, including Super Bowl 52. So hey, we got Michaels and Collinsworth on NBC calling another Eagles playoff game this time around in Chicago against the Bears. And look, I mean, the Eagles, of course, win their game 24-0. The Bears beat Minnesota 24-10. So there was a 24 and a 0 involved in both scores. I thought that was kind of interesting. Kirk Cousins. What's that, $84 million? Boy, that may be the biggest mistake in Minnesota since they traded all those picks away to get Herschel Walker back in the 90s and helped Dallas to become a dynasty back then. It was... But anyhow, yeah, I had this quiet confidence that things could break in our favor tonight because obviously I did feel good about the Eagles winning their game against Washington, even though it was on the road against a divisional opponent. But I felt good about us winning this game. And I also felt good that the Bears could beat the Vikings. Because the one thing Kirk Cousins is not is a clutch quarterback in big games. So, and we saw that again today. You like that? We saw that again. We saw that again today in Minnesota in a big game, playoff ramifications, everything on the line. Yeah. Well, they do the skull chant, so, they got that. But, Kirk Cousins. Oh, my. You think Viking fans want to redo on that one? You think they do? Yeah. You know. Anyhow, again, look, things had to happen right for us today. They did. And because of that, like I said before, I just want to get a ticket in. Give me a ticket to the dance. Give this team a ticket to the dance. As a defending Super Bowl champion, just get in. Just get in. You never know. It's about playing your best football when it matters the most. In January, late December, January. That's when you got to play at your best. And however the roller coaster ride was this season, up and down, the last, now 3 weeks have all been W's. Every game has been like a playoff game because you had to win every game, basically, right? After you lose to Dallas in overtime, they had to win out. I mean, basically, people say, oh, they had a margin of error. No, they didn't. They had to win out. They had to win the next 3 games, and they did so again with St. Nick there at the helm. The closer comes in and wins in L.A. against the Rams, beats the Texans at home. Last possession of the game, needed to get in field goal range. They get in field goal range, and then Jake Elliott with the game-winning field goal. And then today they had to win again. They had obviously today's opponent was not at the ilk of the Rams or the Texans, but you still had to win, and that's exactly what he did. And I know he got kind of banged up there at the end. I hear he's going to be good to go next week, so that's good. I mean, they probably kept him out for precautionary reasons. At the rest of the game was pretty much in hand at the time. All Nick has done the last 2 weeks is set records. Nicky record set. So today he ties, I believe, Tannehill and Rivers. I know Rivers for sure in most completions in a row at 25. That's also an Eagles franchise record. He also set a single game completion percentage, which was his own record. He surpassed that for a single game in Eagles history. Last week, of course, he set the franchise record for yards in a single game. He has the franchise records for touchdowns in a single game at 7. Years ago in Oakland, part of the 27-2 touchdown interception year. And listen, they showed this today a few times during the broadcast and like the Foles files, for him as an Eagle. And it's pretty remarkable. I mean, again, I will say this, I still believe that this is Wentz's team going forward. But not for nothing, Nick Foles has had some pretty nice numbers since being an Eagles starter. We all know what he did last season coming in after Carson Wentz got hurt. The run that we went on last season. He wins Super Bowl 52, Super Bowl MVP, beats Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. I mean, we all know the history, the Philly special, everything that kind of went with it. I mean, he has the franchise record in single game for yards. He has the franchise pass completion percentage record. He has the 7 touchdowns in the one game at Oakland. And he has had a very good winning percentage as an Eagles quarterback. I mean, they have won a lot more games than they've lost with Nick Foles under center. I believe even the year he got hurt in Houston those years ago, I think the team was like 6-2 or something like that. I mean, they were 6-3 or whatever it was, but they had a winning record. And of course, he was lost for the rest of the year. And then Chip Kelly stupidly traded him away to the Rams. One of Chip's many missteps there as coach of the Eagles, and then GM. Not very good. But listen, I mean, the guy's been a winner here, and going after this season, I really don't, barring another Super Bowl run, I don't know if they're going to retain him. I don't know if they're going to want to put that much dollar amount into the quarterback position when there's going to be other positions of need that they're going to have to fill. And I wish him all the best of luck if he's not here after this season, if he goes to Jacksonville, if he goes to Tampa Bay. I don't know if the Redskins would be a landing spot for him. I don't know if the Giants would be. I mean, obviously, if he goes there, Eli Manning would still probably be a starter. So if Foles does leave here this offseason, he's going to want to go someplace where he can start. And, you look at Jacksonville, you look at Tampa as possibilities. There might be some other teams here and there, but, those two could be landing spots. We're not talking about next season, though, but a little jumping the gun here. But, looking back on what he's done with this franchise, it's been remarkable. I mean, again, I pointed to this last week. He left the field with a lead years ago against the Saints in the wild card playoff, and of course then the special teams and defense gave that one up. But what he has done as a starter with the Eagles in a limited role has been tremendous. It's been tremendous. Obviously, the Super Bowl is the icing on the cake, but what he has done here, including this season now, leading them back to 3 straight wins, clutch wins, clutch games they had to have, has been great. Two of the 3 games on the road. It's been great, and he'll always be remembered for what he's done and the good times we've had, with him as the QB. And listen, it's not just Nick Foles. I know Nick gets a lot of gets the headline for what this team was able to do the last 3 weeks. But I mean, look, the defense stepped up too. I mean, you don't just win games on one side of the ball. You have to have that you have to have both sides of the ball and your special teams working in unison, working well. It has to be a well-oiled machine. And this defense has stepped up, particularly the defensive line, whereas most of the season it's been kind of maligned there that, they're not getting enough pressure on the quarterback. They're not generating enough turnovers. And what have they done the last 3 weeks? They've gotten much more they've gotten much more pressure on the opposing quarterbacks. They've wreaked havoc. Obviously, Cox. Getting Timmy Jernigan back's been big for that defensive line. How Bennett's played in the last, stretch of the season has been tremendous. Brandon Graham has been playing better. Chris Long has been playing better. The rotation is there again. And this was a big strength of this team a year ago. I mean, they had the best defensive line in the league last season. And it's one of the big reasons why they had the success that they did. And now you see in this winning streak, the defensive line controlling the game, controlling that side of the game. The running backs are being held in check, against them. They're getting a lot more pressure than they were against the opposing quarterbacks. There's been more turnovers now. The Eagles are causing because of that, because it goes hand in hand. You don't get turnovers if you don't get pressure. And that's one of the problems that this defense had for most of the season. That they just weren't generating a lot of takeaways because the pressure wasn't getting there, wasn't getting home against the opposing quarterbacks. The running backs were able to have good games against them. And, they just weren't there. They weren't on that same page. And obviously a lot of blame, including myself, a lot of the blame went to Jim Schwartz and the lack of blitzing and this and that, and rightfully so. But look, it's about adjustments. And I believe that Jim Schwartz adjusted. I believe this defense adjusted. Getting guys back, I think, helped them. Tim Jernigan, now they got Jordan Hicks back at middle linebacker. That's good. That's familiarity. And getting guys back at this time of year and being part of this collective unit is a big help for this team. It's a big plus. And other guys have stepped up. I mean, you look at what Maddox has done in the secondary. They have a lot of leaders on this team. Guys like Malcolm Jenkins and Fletcher Cox and Michael Bennett, and the list goes on and on. Brandon Graham, guys, Chris Long, guys that are leaders, stepped up and they made plays in these games that during this winning streak. And sure, the offense has made plays, and Nick Foles and getting Darren Sproles back has been big. The RPO is there again on this offense. Alshon Jeffrey making big plays. Zach Ertz getting the tight end reception in a season record. There's a lot of players who have done good things. Nelson Aguilar in this stretch has played his best football of the season. You can arguably say. This is a dangerous team. And they're dangerous not only because they're playing good right now, but because of what they accomplished a season ago. This team is playoff battle tested. I mean, you go to a Super Bowl and you win a Super Bowl, there's not much that's going to phase you in the playoffs going forward, you know. And I think it's big. I mean, let's not make small, work of that, of the fact that they are a defending Super Bowl champion. They know what it takes to get on top of the mountain. So now you're in a season where not a lot has gone well, and their own doing in part. But now there's games that people are now again, right? They're picking against them. And it's almost like this team needs people to pick against them for them to, it's like that. It's that added incentive for them, And some teams, that's just how it is. That's just in their DNA. That's how they're wired, And this team uses that, the underdog mentality that they had last season, and now they do it with the ski masks and whatever. But it's still that mentality. Oh, no one's picking us. We'll show them, type of thing. And maybe that was the kick in the rear that they needed. But again, they have the mettle of a team that's won a championship. They won a Super Bowl last year against the best dynasty that there's ever been in the Patriots. Okay? And when you can go toe-to-toe with Brady and Belichick and walk away with that trophy, there's nothing much that's going to faze you after that. And these guys know what it takes to win. And that's one thing that makes them a dangerous team going into this playoffs. Yeah, they're the 6th seed. I get it. It hasn't been perfect this year. It hasn't been like last season. I mean, it's the exact opposite, right? They were the 1st seed last year in the NFC playoffs. They had home field throughout. This year, they're a 6th seed. And it's funny because last year they were underdog as the 1st seed. Now they'll be the underdog where you expect underdogs to come from, the 6th seed. But they're dangerous. And they're dangerous because they're playoff tested. They've been there. They know what it is to play at the highest level, to play this game on the highest stage and come away with a victory. I'm not saying it's guaranteed they're going to go back and win Super Bowl 53, but what I'm saying is they are a very dangerous group right now, because the guys on this team that needs to play at that high level, that's what they're doing. They have a lot of leaders on this team, a lot of leadership, guys that are going to step up for one another. Crucial parts of the game. They're not going to get the magnitude of the game get to them, where you see it get to some other teams. The Vikings, it got to them today, right? It's not going to get to this team. There's no moment that's going to be too big because of what they accomplished last season as a collective unit. And they had to do so with all the injuries they had last season. And they have injuries again this season. Lots of them. But other guys are stepping up. It's the old hats on this team. It's the veterans. It's the captains, the guys that have been here. And it's some of the young kids. So it's nice to see this team playing at the level that we were all hoping for them to play. Yeah, they got to it a little late. It took them until December. But they got there. And they're in. Like I said, just give me a ticket. Give me a ticket to the dance. Let this team get into the dance, and we'll take our chances from there. Now, look, the Bears are a very good team. We were all Bears fans tonight, and we're not Bears fans next week. Okay? And thank you to the Bears for beating the Vikings. But now they're the enemy. And they're a very good team. They're a very well-coached team, although it's a young coach. It's a first-year coach. They've done a lot of good things. Mitchell Trubisky seems to have put it together now. They have our old friend there from the Philly Special, Trey Burton, as their starting tight end. Another former Eagles there, and Cody Parkey as their kicker. We remember him from those years ago. So there's some connections there. And they are a very good team. They have the Defensive Player of the Year, more than likely, in Khalil Mack, and well-deservingly so for him. He's had a tremendous year. That defense has played tremendous. The strength of that defense, though, is they get takeaways. So you got to limit the takeaways for this offense. And that's something that, they've done throughout this stretch. They haven't really hurt themselves with the takeaways. They've had some. Okay, we can't have Adams fumbling the ball now next week at a key moment. You want to limit the takeaways. You want to generate takeaways. This defense has to generate takeaways. I'll tell you one thing. It's going to be a great defensive battle. You talk about the Bears playing well on defense. You talk about the Eagles right now, this defensive line, what they're doing, wrecking havoc every week. It's going to be a very good kind of old school type of of knockaround type of game, and I look forward to it. I really do. I'm glad we're in. I know Vikings fans are sick of us right now, but I'm I'm glad we are in, and I'm glad we have a chance. You get in, you have a chance. If you can't, it's as simple as that. You get in, you have a chance. You don't get in, you don't have a chance. Right? It sounds like something Yogi Berra would have used to have said, right? But no, Rudy T once said many years ago as the coach of the Houston Rockets when they were a defending champion to win their back-to-back champion. He said the famous words, right? The famous line: never underestimate the heart of a champion, right? Never underestimate the heart of a champion. And maybe this champion has been underestimated. I think it's just so perfect for this city. This is the Rocky story, right? Even as a champion, they've been disrespected, they've been cast aside, they've been pushed away, and here they come again. They were down on the mat, and they picked themselves back up. They got back up on the ropes. They turned around, and they said, "We're ready for another round. Let's go." It's been a lot. It's been a great story. You can't. A Hollywood writer couldn't have come up with this. Okay, everything that's gone with this. The return of Saint Nick, the team just picking themselves up again. Games that people thought they had no chance winning, no business winning, they win. They get in because they win a game, and Minnesota loses at home to a Bears team that had nothing really to play for. You can't make this stuff up. You can't. The story still has to continue, and we'll see what happens. I mean, nothing's. Who knows? What happens next week in Chicago. I think they have a shot. I mean, Chicago is a very non-playoff tested team, a young team, against a team that has been there, knows what it takes to win in the playoffs. They are on the road, but they know how to play. I mean, they know how to play on that stage. They know how to play in the playoffs. They did it a year ago. I mean, you go to a Super Bowl, like I said, I don't want to keep repeating it, but you go to a Super Bowl and win against the Patriots, there's nothing that's going to faze you. Whether it's Khalil Mack and the Bears, whether it's Drew Brees and the Saints, whether it's going to L.A. again, whatever it is, whatever the storyline goes from here, the one thing I am confident with and about with this team is the moment's not going to get too big for them. They are not going to be fazed. They're not going to go into these games scared. They're going to go into these games, starting with next week at Chicago, confident. And you can't shake it. The Bears and their fans, they can't shake it. They cannot shake the confidence level of this team because they know what it takes to win, and they know how hard it is to win. And now they know how hard it is to win as a defending champion. But again, don't underestimate the heart of a champion. And they've been underestimated here for the past month. And people keep wanting to find a way to bury this team, and they haven't been able to do it. Listen, this season could have gone one of two ways after Dallas. I mean, as tough a loss as that was, that was probably one of the toughest losses that I've seen in a number of years, just because of how it happened. The refs and the this play and that play not going, and then the overtime and that bounce and for the winning touchdown. It could have gone one of two ways. The team could have folded the tents and just said, okay, we got a game next week. Now, coming off this loss, now we got to go to L.A. to play one of the best teams in the league in their house. And then we got Texans coming in, two hot teams with two hot offenses going at it. They could, and albeit, and now our starting quarterback isn't going to play again. And, here we are, the woe is me type mentality. And also the mentality of, we got ours last year. We're good. This season it just wasn't meant to be. Whatever. Or they could fight. They could find a way. They could muster it up and keep getting through week after week, winning games and fighting for that playoff spot. And that's what they did. And as a fan of this team, I can't be more prouder to see what I've seen these past few weeks. And I don't care who's behind center at quarterback. I don't care, what the situation, this, that, and the other thing. I just want to see my team win. That's all I want. I want them to compete, and I want them to win. And for the last 3 weeks, that's what this team has done. Whether it was Carson behind under center, Nick Foles under center, the names on the back of the jerseys, to me, is just what it is. But I want the team to win. I want the team to have success because I'm a fan of the Philadelphia Eagles. Okay? And yeah, that means I'm a fan of the players who are on the Philadelphia Eagles. But to me, I just want this team to have success and to win. That's all I can ask for as a fan. And for most of this season, that's been just up and down, and who knows what can happen, and all these different situations, and just some horrible losses. And, the Saints game, the non-compete levels on that game, that reminded me of the end of the Chip Kelly years. I mean, that's as low as you can get. And that would have killed a lot of teams in this league, but it didn't them. And for whatever reason, the spark, whatever it was there in December, and they found ways to win games. Yeah, with Nick Foles behind under center, but they found ways to do it, and they did it as a team. They all rallied together. They came together. Again, the leaders of this team, the leadership of this team would not let them die. Did not give up on this season. And I think that says a lot about the players that are on this team. I think that says a lot about the mental makeup of this team. And it is kind of maddening in a way that why couldn't they have this when they were up 17 points against the Panthers at home, or when they all they had to do was stop a 4th and 15 against the Titans in overtime. But it is what it is. You can't look at those games now. The fact of the matter is they overcame a lot this season. Injuries is part of it, as they did a year ago. Inconsistent play, inconsistent coaching, referees, and all the like. And yet here they are in December, and they go on another run. And here we are again, year after winning a Super Bowl, back in the playoffs as a defending champion. And that's a dangerous team to have in. Playing as their best football that season right now in December going into January as a defending champion. It's a dangerous team. And the road ahead, hey, who knows what's going to happen? Okay? I can't sit here and tell you what's going to happen next week. I hope what happens next week is another win. Okay? But, it's going to be tougher this year. They're on the road. But maybe there's just something about it that this team is just going to use that even more. The fact that now they're a 6th seed, no one's going to pick them. It's the rallying cry that they kind of need. It just propels them. It's strange. It really is. I haven't seen anything like this as an Eagles fan. For most of my years being an Eagles fan, I've been with this team since they wore the Kelly greens. Okay, but it's amazing. It is. The resiliency that this team has, it is amazing. I can't say that I've seen this. I've seen it in spurts before. The Andy Reid years, them going off the slow starts and they pick it up. One year they didn't have Donovan for a good portion of the year. You had the Corey Detmer and the A.J. Feeleys and everything in there, and they still found a way to, go to an NFC title game. I've seen it, but this has been just on a whole nother level. This has really been something special. And again, you credit the players and you credit the coaches that have put this team in position where they are right now. And you know what? Again, like I said, ticket to the dance. Just get in. Anything can happen. You get in, strange things happen sometimes in the playoffs. We've seen 6 seeds do special things before. And some of those 6 seeds weren't defending Super Bowl champions. Like the Packers those years ago when they got in as a 6 seed and went and beat the Steelers in the Super Bowl. It happens. Doesn't happen every year. Obviously, the Eagles did it last year as a 1 seed. But if there's any team that it's like, a 6 seed, I just isn't going to faze them, it's this team. And they're definitely a dangerous team. They're going to be a tough out for anybody. Because of how well they're playing right now and the fact that they're confident. And confidence is a dangerous thing, for an opponent. And this team has supreme confidence, and they should, because of what they did a year ago, and they know how to win. They know how to do it when it comes to the playoffs, and we'll see. I mean, again, they're playing a mostly inexperienced playoff team next week in their building in Chicago at Soldier Field, but I feel good about our chances. I do, because of how this team has played the last few weeks. And not just on one side of the ball, like I said, on both sides of the ball and special teams. They played really good, and they've earned their wins. They earned their ticket in. People can say, "Oh, well, they got lucky. Vikings lost or whatever." Hey, they still had to go to L.A. 3 weeks ago and beat the Rams. They still had to beat the Texans last week, and that game meant something to the Texans because that meant a first-round bye for the Texans if they would have won that game. I think it's funny, but Big Slim and I were talking about it on the phone. We were like, the Eagles have pretty much, over the last few weeks, kind of ruined the number one seed for the Rams, and they ruined the first round bye for the Texans. The Redskins were already ruined, so that one didn't matter too much. But still, look, you finished strong. Your defense finishes strong. Hey, you know what? You're playing an NFL opponent, and you shut them out in their building, which I know was taken over by Eagles fans. Shout out again to all the Eagles Nation that were at FedEx Field today. Taking over that stadium, and it was great to see. It was great to hear. Listen, they found a way in, as bleak as it looked about a month ago. Around Thanksgiving time, here we are, a day before New Year's Eve, and we're in the playoffs as a 6th seed. We're playing next Sunday late afternoon in Chicago. Against the Bears, a team that helped us today. Now we gotta hope that that they don't win next week. It's funny how things happen in this league. It really is. How it changes week to week. But no, I'm excited for this. I am. I'm happy they're in. It's much better than what it would have been. The alternative, which it could have been. I'm happy and proud with how this team has fought. In December to win these games they had to win. Whoever was in there, again, I root for the Eagles. Whoever's playing, if they're helping my team win, I'm happy. Whether it's Foles, whether it's Wentz, whether it's whoever, I want this team to succeed. And I'm happy that they did it. And hey, Nick Foles, another chapter in his book, right? It has been written now. It's amazing to me. It really is. It's he's just very calm and cool under the pressure. And nothing phases the man. And it's great when you have that on your team. And I do believe that can be Carson too down the road. I really do. I believe in him. But that's a topic for another video down the road. Listen, we will definitely have a Happy New Year, Happy New Year's Eve, Happy New Year. We got a little late Christmas gift today. The Eagles, of course, winning their game, Minnesota losing their game, and we're in. We're in. The playoffs start next weekend, the wild card weekend. We're the last game of the weekend against Chicago on NBC. Like I said again, Michaels and Collinsworth, we've done okay with them in recent years, calling the Eagles games, including Super Bowl 52. And hey, the chase for Super Bowl 53 begins next weekend, and we're part of it. The defending champions are part of it. So whether people like it or not, we're back. Thought we were dead, did you? You can call us the zombies if you want, but we're back in there. We're the Walking Dead. Back in. For a chance to defend that crown. And it's an awesome feeling. It really is. And like I said, I'm happy that this team is playing their best football right now, because this is when you have to. Right, Dallas fans? Yeah. See, this is when you have to. I know most of those Dallas fans, they don't know exactly about January success for a number of years. So but this is when you have to play your best football. And by the way, go Seahawks next weekend. Yeah. I want Dallas to lose. Oh, what a perfect weekend that would be for me if Dallas loses and we win. And that would be another chapter written for them too. So, Anyhow, yes, Eagles win. Eagles win. They are in as the 6th seed. Again, we all know by now they're playing Sunday night, Sunday late afternoon rather, a week from tonight against the Bears in Chicago, and we'll see. They have a shot. They have a shot. They're playing a very good team, but a very young team, and a very inexperienced team in the playoffs. So they have a shot. They have a shot. Eagles are playing really well right now. Got to continue that. Got to just, keep playing at that level, and they'll have a shot to advance. But, we'll see what happens. Hey, I'm just glad they're in. I'm just glad they're in that game against Chicago next weekend. So as always, let's go Birds. The playoffs begin next weekend. The Eagles are in. The Eagles are in. And we'll see what happens. Hey, maybe yet again it ends with some hardware. So we'll see. You can't make this stuff up. You can't. So have a Happy New Year. Happy New Year. By the time this video is out there, it will be 2019. This will be my final video for 2018. And oh my goodness, 2018 has been amazing, hasn't it? I mean, the Eagles winning the Super Bowl and just, they start the year with a Super Bowl championship. They end the year making the playoffs in the last week of the regular season. That's something. It's been a heck of a year, a heck of a ride, ups and downs, the highest of ups, just the lows during this season, just all sorts of madness and craziness. But at the end, we're back in the dance, and that's a good thing. All right, everyone, happy 2019. Let's go Birds in 2019. Next weekend in Chicago, the Windy City, will have the defending champions playing in it, and look forward to it. No fog. No fog. All right, everyone, take care. Bye.